You know, Jesse Ventura has been all over radio and TV lately, and I good friends with him. Just hadn't thought to call and bug him, and I called and talked to his wife yesterday. He gets back today to Minnesota. He may be on later this week or next week, but we're going to get Ventura on, talk about a lot of stuff, about the waterboarding and the rest of it. I should have got him on before everybody else did. I knew he was coming back. He said, I'll be back in March or so. Have me on then from Mexico. And I just forgot. Here we are in May. So I should have got him on a month and a half ago, but that doesn't matter. Bunch of other big guests coming up later in the week, into next week. I got a big news blitz coming up here. Big stacks of news I haven't even gotten to yet. We will cover that. Got off track today for 3.5 hours because of what's happening to somebody here in my office with CPS. We already had this guest set up separately with what CPS is doing. Diane Miller, nationalhealthfreedom.org. She's a Minnesota attorney who successfully helped to defend a Minnesota farmer from charges of practice of medicine without a license, all this other stuff. And there's all these cases where they'll grab kids, do chemotherapy, and then kill the kids with the chemotherapy. There's a Texas case we covered last year, and they finally won in court. This isn't like Christian Science, but if you don't have your rights to not do stuff, then you have no rights, and they can force vaccines on you. But this is cases where they admit the chemo won't even help, and then they still do it. This case has got national attention. In fact, here it is on Fox News, just came out today. Father asked mom, 13-year-old boy resisting chemo, to come home. So we're talking right now to Diane Miller. Diane, what's the latest on this case?
The latest is that the dad does not know where the mom and youth are, and they did not appear at the hearing yesterday where they were going to be discussing how he would comply with the recommendations of a pediatric oncologist that does conventional care.
And what is your relationship to this case?
I am the national director for National Health Freedom Coalition. We've been informally advising on the health freedom issues involved in the case.
For those that don't know the case, can you specifically just boil it down for people?
A child was diagnosed from family physician, sent to a pediatric oncologist at Children's Hospital. They recommended chemotherapy. The parents did not want to do it, but they agreed to do a first round, and the first round was severe complications. The child ended up in the hospital for 11 days with a large blood clot under his arm and up to his heart, and couldn't walk, and came home and rehabilitated for a couple weeks doing alternative health care, and didn't want to go back to the rest of the chemotherapy, and got a second opinion. Second opinion said do conventional care, and they reported him to Child Protection when the parents did not bring him back for the second round.
So even when you get a second opinion, which the other cases they get from medical doctors, they say we don't care. And, you know, I had a dog got cancer. They gave it one chemo shot. He quit breathing and died within 10 minutes. And I know everybody else I know, a lot of times they find cancers aren't really cancers and they wipe them out with this stuff. This is quite an industry. And so, they don't want it, but I guess and so where is this going now?
Well, they put a warrant out for the mother and the child to find them so that they can, and the county, without the mother or child present, transferred custody to Brown County so that once they find the child, the county would force the issue.
So they're hell-bent on killing this little boy. Tell us about him.
Yeah, and the media is not carrying the defense. We had Dr. Norm Shealy testifying. He said that personally himself, you couldn't give him $1 trillion to take chemotherapy, and discussed the side effects, the efficacy, and the political holding of the chemotherapy industry.
Yeah, these aren't just families saying no. Medical doctors all over are saying it's basically rat poison and kills you. It doesn't help you.
Right,
They don't care how many medical doctors you've got. The state says we're going to practice medicine. The kid dies.
Right, and the laws in most states say that if doctors say anything outside of the recommended prevailing and accepted standards of care, they can lose their license. So basically in the United States there's a gag order on cancer cures.
Yeah, I knew about that. It's just unbelievable. So the family's disappeared though. They're not gonna. I mean, I guess they are extremists. They don't want to kill their son.
Right. They don't want to kill their son. They don't want to kill their son. That's basically what's going on. They're very well educated in alternative health. They had a high learning curve. They're researching everything they can get their hands on. They're looking at other clinics. They're doing all kinds of stuff to figure out how best to bring their son back in a state of wellness without giving him a toxic, lethal substance.
You know, I printed it and I couldn't find it in my stack from last night. A girl from Corpus Christi, we had her on like a year ago, and they grabbed her. She was fine, gave her chemotherapy, almost killed her. They fought and finally won in court. What's her name?
Corpus Christi.
I forget, but the point is, I've got it here in the stack. But, I mean, there are some...
In the Oklahoma Lily Rott case, Lily went to Switzerland to a hospital that the United States tried to extradite her back to the United States for a second round of chemo because the first one almost killed her, so they left. And the Swiss doctors would not let her go because they said the amount of chemo that they would have given that child would be child abuse in Switzerland.
Yeah, it's totally sick. I know. They abuse children and then call it abuse, not abusing them. For those that don't know, ma'am, researching this and the doctors you've had testify, tell folks what chemo is, because, I mean, they love it. They can charge $10,000 for a bottle of Raid. I mean, explain to people why this is a mafia.
Right. The cost of the first round of diagnostics and the chemo in one round was $92,000. And if 1,000 people die of cancer every day in this country, and you know that most of them take chemo, it's just $1 billion industry that's pumping money in every day. The drugs that they give usually target cancer cells. They kill developing cells. Some drugs kill all cells, and then they hope that enough cancer cells get killed that the person eventually survives and builds their own immune system. But the problem is that most chemotherapies don't target a particular cell, so it's killing your immune system off in general.
Yeah, in fact, I know a lot of people now dying of blood diseases, and they're dying 5 years after they took chemo.
Right,
it just totally fries your blood.
Yep, they get heart failure, they get thyroid problems, sterilization, and they have a very high risk of getting leukemias and other blood dyscrasias after they have chemotherapy rounds. So in our opinion, the parents are being extremely responsible in this case. They are like the opposite of neglect. They are empowered. They're critical thinkers. They're doing the best they can to do the analysis of what they want for their child, and that's what we want in America, and it's being totally trashed by imposing a conventional standard of care. Basically, the research drug companies do their own research projects. Then they promote their drugs, and they say this was promoted for a cure. And they say you don't have the numbers for your other natural remedies, so it doesn't work. And they're basically arguing that because you don't have big double-blind studies or clinical trials that you can't do it. It's not.
Though, as you know, you're an expert in this, that's phase one. Now they've been kind of defeated, so they're now patenting fish oil and patenting vitamin C and trying to then make governments where we can't have it over the counter, where we've got to then go pay $92,000 from them for some vitamin B12.
That's right. They're going after the dietary supplement, chipping away at that for sure. They're trying to do it slowly so that we don't have a huge outcry. So they just do one little thing at a time that doesn't create enough, So we're taking a resolution forward in this fall on the Codex issues and that to stop some of that.
All right. Well, Diane, we really appreciate you joining us, and you're a great guest. I want to have you back up for a full hour in the future. We're sorry for moving you earlier. I have CPS trying to kidnap one of my employees' daughters for absolutely no reason, strip searching her, everything. It's total insanity. But how do we help this little boy? Or I guess there's nothing we can do. That just hopefully the parents can hide him before the kidnappers get him.
All right. Well, the biggest thing, I think, is that this case is so constitutional that there should be appeals going in amicus briefs and whatever, and the attorney's law firm taking this case that took the case is a very small law firm with two attorneys. The lead attorney on it is Calvin Johnson, the one that did the farmer case with me 15 years ago. So if you can support that law firm so that they can get another person on this case full-time, then we can really take it all the way where it's supposed to go. And
sure. I mean, I ran into precedent just last night in Texas. There was a state court in the case of this little girl. In fact, I was Googling Fight CPS and found that article. I've had so many guests on, I forget them all, last night, and I can't find it, guys. Type Corpus Christi girl doesn't want chemo.
Okay.
And that should pull her up because I want to show
I didn't
people on
find that
screen.
one, so.
Yeah, and we'll